What's going on? It's Dr. Chris Featherstone here for yet another episode of UnSKripted. It's Tuesday night. You know what that means. One of my favorite days of the week. And this week is absolutely no different. We have some of the biggest, the baddest, the best of today and yesteryear. And guess what? Tonight is no different. You know what? I have a terrible, terrible European accent. Okay. I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I still am here. If you ask me, Columbus, Ohio is the best city and state in the whole entire world. I'm a huge Buckeyes fan. Everybody knows that. But you know what? Maybe some Belfast, bruiser. It's terrible, ladies and gentlemen. I'll do the best that I can. Maybe I'll just stick to Columbus, Ohio. But I'll tell you someone who can give you the best Belfast bruiser accent possibly in the whole wide world. And he can back it up too, ladies and gentlemen. Former NXT Tag Team of the Year winner, former WWE star. You used to know him as Killian Dain. But you know what? Before WWE, he was running the territories and giving everybody's chop block splashes and all types of crazy moves. Big Damo, how are you tonight, man?
Thanks for that wonderful introduction there. I really appreciated your Belfast accent, actually.
Thank you, man. I butchered it.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think I've ever met anybody who sounded like that, but, good for you. I probably couldn't do an Ohio accent, so.
I tried, man. I tried. I know that I absolutely butchered it, but, I'll call me the Belfast
Hey, you
butcher.
Tried, though. You tried. So, that's pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet.
I did, man. I appreciate it, man. How's life? How's life going for you, man?
The very best. Obviously, the first day of the news the other week was a little tough, but since every hour, every minute everything gets easier because you start thinking about what's next. So, honestly, I've got a great support system here and across the pond. So, I'm very lucky. Very lucky.
Nice. Are you still in the States?
I am indeed. Yeah, I'll be staying here for the time being anyway. My wife obviously is doing very well for herself right now, so I will try and get back to Ireland in the next few months to try and see my family, because one of the main problems of COVID was we haven't been home since December 2019.
Wow.
So that is the next step, because chomping at the bit to get home regardless. But now I've got added incentive.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the States, I know here in Ohio, COVID numbers are substantially decreasing, and so I think we are Right now, our 7-day average is the best since March of 2020. So,
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. It seems like it feels like it's starting to feel like normal again. For a lot of people know this. I actually I cover WrestleMania every year, and I was scheduled to fly out from Ohio to Tampa. And I got real sick a few days beforehand. I was like, oh man, I hope this isn't what I think it is. Had to go to emergency room the night before WrestleMania.
Oh.
Tested positive for COVID. So I had COVID I had to quarantine for a week and a half, and that was the WrestleMania. I of course I didn't go, so it was quite crazy. So I got bit by the COVID bug 3 months ago, but I feel great now.
Hey, thankfully you're still kicking. That's the main thing.
I'm. It's definitely one of those things that I don't wish it upon anybody. A lot of people downplay COVID, and I've had it to know that it definitely should not be downplayed. It is definitely, it lives up to the hype. It sucked for about 5 days. It was terrible. Cold chills, hot sweats, fevers, everything, you name it, loss of appetite, super high fever, super weak. And so it's everything you imagine. But the positive about COVID is that it's weird. You actually become immune to it for 3 months, and so you don't give it or get it
it's actually a relief more than anything. You're like, so I'm okay for a little bit. That's
exactly
good.
Exactly. Like, come on, can you give me a hug now? Cool. You ready to jump into these questions, man?
Let's do it. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Before we jump into it, man, plug whatever you got going on as far as where people can find your social media and anything in between.
Absolutely. I'm trying to make it really easy, making everything the same word. So it's my name at Damo Mackle on pretty much everything. So Twitter, Instagram. I'll be doing Twitch very shortly in the next month or so, and I'll be on Cameo as well. And there'll be some pro wrestling tees, and it'll all be Damo Mackle is the tag we'll be using.
That's it right there, Damo Mackle.
Thank you.
Yeah. Follow him, Damo Mackle. Before we jump in, any ICW plans? I know you ran.
Funny, I'm kind of wearing something right now. This is actually a complete coincidence, but it's interesting that you say that. But we'll see.
Okay. Yeah. Good stuff, man. All right, let's jump in with Rory. So, greetings from Puerto Rico. How did you enjoy wrestling in New Japan with great Tomohiro Ishii, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Shinsuke Nakamura, as well as Tommaso Ciampa? And how did Britain's most wanted tag team start? Someone knows their big name.
I'll go with the tag team one really quickly. That was when I was wrestling for a company called SWA and a bunch of other companies in England and Scotland. A friend of mine, Scott Rennick, he was this incredible baby face. He unfortunately had a lot of kidney issues and he was very ill and he had to retire. But Scotty was an incredible talent, and we were put together. We were both in different tag teams. One booker put us both together, and then it just really took off from there. We used a bit of a play on America's Most Wanted by going with Britain's Most Wanted, because it was BMW and we could use, like rip-offs of the BMW logos. So it was actually pretty cool. But for the wrestling, the guys from New Japan was an incredible experience. Tomohiro Ishii is literally one of my favorite opponents ever. We had almost zero communication before we wrestled. I've got no Japanese. He's got very little English. But what we did in ring was brilliant. Like anything that, a lot of the stuff that we did there was not planned. It was just, I riffed off him really well, and it ended up setting me up great for future, because I think, it let everybody know that, I didn't suck, which is good. And then it meant I got to wrestle Shinsuke and Tanahashi after, and those two matches just, so I literally saw those two guys in the climax for the G25, the G25, I think it was. They were in the final, the climax, and then I was wrestling them a month later, both of them. Or a couple of months later. It was crazy, but it was a brilliant experience for me. I loved wrestling them. Tommaso, I wrestled a bunch of times. Actually, we ended up kind of locked together in a bunch of indies, ICW, Rev Pro, and Progress. Ciampa is a hell of a talent. I think we're actually seeing he wasn't really showcasing his personality back then. We're seeing that a lot more now, and he's an incredible promo, so intense, very believable. Back then, he was just more focused on the in-ring, which, you know, as is on the independents. But now that he's able to marry both the character and the wrestling, he's doing a great job there, and I think he's got a great few years ahead of him.
Indeed. If you can change two things from your WWE run, what would they be and why, and what you're most proud about doing your wrestling career?
The first thing I would change, give me millions of dollars. That would be incredible. I could bring my family.
Give me millions, billions of dollars.
That'd be amazing. That'd be great. No. Out of all seriousness, I'm a weird, not a weird guy, but I generally believe that you learn from your path, and I wouldn't change anything. Like, listen, were there days where I could, you know, I grumbled? Sure. Were there matches I wish were slightly longer? Were matches I wish that, you know, could have happened, should have happened, whatever? Yeah, absolutely. But realistically, everything that happened to me has got me to this point. I'm very happy with who I am. I'm very happy with where I am right now. And out of all seriousness, I look back in my 5 years and I look back mostly with huge positivity, and I had a really great experience. I met some brilliant people. I got to live and work in America with my wife. We both had different paths, and we somehow managed to get here at the same time. And, you know, listen, I've been able to support my family. I paid my parents' debts off. I was able to get something, help my sister with property, and then we were, you know, there's all the things that you want to do, I was able to do, and I can't take, you know, things could change, you know, whatever else, but I'm so lucky that I was able to do all these things. That's the one thing I wanted to set out to do, was to try and look after my family, because they carried me. So it was great to be able to return the favor.
That's awesome, man. Very, very nice. You know, it's interesting that as much from the people from the outside that look at that, I'm like, oh no, I can't believe it got released. You know, which is true, because, you know, of course, we support you, especially the fans, you know, support you as a character. And it was a big shocker, because I think you still do, of course, but had a ton of potential. You know, I was like, man, I was having a conversation about that with some friends. It's like, man, why didn't they just have him like be one of the main eventers of NXT UK? I don't know. I was like, why didn't they just do that? That just made sense to me, is because you had so much potential there. And I mean, was that ever discussed at all?
So I think, like, had the Sanity thing not happened, then that was probably where I would have started. Like, I'm assuming, like, I remember so I got signed before the NXT UK thing was really going to start. So I got signed the end of. So I think that all really came into fruition at the end of 2015, and then I didn't really actually start in NXT till the October or something like 2016. There's a huge process for international talents to eventually get signed, especially then. So when I did come in, I think like nobody had discussed with me like what the idea was. I mean, I think my first appearance on anything NXT, which was like in-house, was me and Tommy End actually teamed with something. So I don't know if that was something that they might have done, or were just thinking of, or it was a one-off. And then the Sanity thing happened also quick. I started doing a couple of singles matches, and then boom, you know, Sawyer gets hurt, and I come in as the replacement. I know I definitely wasn't. I wasn't the first choice for that, because if that was the case, they would have signed me earlier, or they would have held off, you know. So like, but I know that I was going to be in the very first NXT UK tournament. That was definitely being thrown around, but because I'd started with the Sanity group, they took me out of that, because I couldn't go and be like a nationalistic Irish guy while also being a crazy guy on a different show. So I was gutted, because I actually really wanted to do it, because I thought it would have been really cool. But I understand why they didn't go that way. And it ended up being a great vehicle for so many other guys. I mean, like Pete and Tyler and things like that. Like they were just waiting for the shot, and they got their shot, and they took their shot.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, even after Sanity, though, something about Killian Dain versus Walter, you know, that just would have been, oh man, just talk about a WrestleMania caliber NXT UK showcase, man. That would have been just killer, man.
So, like, well, right before COVID, we were meant to go back. Myself and EY were going to go back as like a Sanity group to NXT UK, and we were going to re-debut at NXT Dublin, which would have been cool, and we were going to feud with Imperium, so that could have happened. But hopefully Walter and I will be able to get our hands on each other at some point.
For sure, absolutely. Guillermo's asking, you made your debut in 2017 and you joined Sanity as a replacement of Sawyer Fulton. Was there any other plans for debut if Sawyer didn't get injured or not? And how was working with Sanity? I think you just basically answered that question.
I can answer the very last bit. Working with Sanity was one of the best experiences of my life. I adored EY. I adored Axel. The two of them are friends for life now. And obviously, I really like my wife as well, but no, seriously, working with EY was an incredible leader. Loved traveling with him. Loved being on the road with Axel as well. I called Axel my road wife. We actually roomed together a lot of the time as well. Axel, or Alexander Wolf, sorry, his real name's Axel Tischer. He's this incredible wrestler, and he's the only one who never really got to showcase it in Sanity. So it's for him I'm probably the most excited about of a lot of the releases recently, because I think it's going to be very easy for him to turn heads, because we got to see how good he was on the house shows and on the live shows, but he wasn't really getting those moments. He got a couple, like, don't get me wrong, War Games and against AOP and stuff like that, but he was an incredible talent. So I adored all of my time with Sanity. We had the time of our lives.
Yeah, with the exception of your wife. I mean, there's an opportunity for Sanity to, come back together. Who
knows?
Yeah, maybe call it Insanity and call it, and maybe somewhere else. All four of you. Well, two of them are in Impact, Sawyer and EY, and then you and Alexander Wolf just recently got released, and so.
Who knows?
Who knows? You never know. You never know. Let's see what's next. How did you like working? Was the idea you and Drake Maverick was born, and were there any plans to become a tag team champs or not? What was your opinion on your theme music with Drake? What's the heavy theme music there?
That music was incredible. I'll go with the way. How did it come about? So honestly, I genuinely thought it was a rib. When they said they were going to put the two of us together, because it was originally pitched months and months and months before that, when they decided they were just going to bring Drake back, that I was actually probably going to interrupt him during the cruiserweight tournament and beat him up, and we go into something over maybe a month or two, and then that didn't really happen. I was like, oh, okay, I wonder what, and then I find out, no, we actually want to go a different direction with you as a like unwitting team, and his energy and his enthusiasm, completely made that. Like every scene that we did, whatever else, is very similar to how we are in real life. I've known Drake for a very long time. I think I've known him 15 years or 14 years. So
wow.
We've used, like, way back when I first started breaking out, he was known as Spud, and he was very great for giving advice to myself and Nikki and a bunch of other people. And then we ended up together. He was on 205 and I was on SmackDown. So like, it's so funny. Like, we just kept crossing paths. Like, even when I was in, I did a little bit in TNA. I saw him there as well. So we just kept kind of running into each other a lot. And our relationship is very similar to what you saw on screen. Like, I'm like this a lot of the time when I'm talking to him, and I'm listening to him. Like, when he tells me what he's bought that week or something, I'm like, oh, why would you buy something like that? And that's generally like our life. Was there any plans in us becoming tag champs? I don't know. That stuff isn't really brought up to talent. But we did have two. Like, I got COVID at one point and he got COVID at one point. So, and they were both right as we were starting feuds and stuff like that. So sometimes, like, it's a bit of bad luck, especially before Christmas. We were kind of on a roll. We were just about to start a feud with Undisputed Era. So I don't know that, something could have happened there, but like, that's, you roll with the punches. This year has been absolutely outrageous. Like, you don't know what's happening with anybody. So we were just very blessed that both of us got through, and we're both well afterwards. I was actually asymptomatic. I was one of the very lucky ones. I did get the flu later on in the year, which is hilarious. So, but I was very lucky when it came to COVID. But I know a lot of, like, listen, one of my best friends, like, he was in hospital emergency, like he was in for 2 weeks or something. So, like, I was very blessed with that. Like, so I definitely was very lucky with that. But yeah, in terms of Drake and I, we had so much fun doing what we do. He's an infectious talent, and I wish the very best for him.
Yeah. Now, what's speaking of COVID with WWE, what's their protocol? Now, I've seen people gone for a number of weeks, and someone like Drew McIntyre, was only gone for a couple of weeks. And so, how do they kind of vet and kind of filter who comes in and who stays out?
It just depended on how sick you got, and if you, like me, I was completely asymptomatic, and I was very lucky. So when the quarantine ended, I tested again, and then you're good to go. Other people who had some people had really long-term illnesses and stuff like that, so they had to be off longer, or so it just comes down to luck. I don't know, like I couldn't tell you the science behind the strains and stuff like that. But some people could get really unlucky where, say, they were around somebody who had it, so they had to be quarantined. And then they get it at the end of quarantine.
Right.
So then they have to quarantine again while they have it. So somebody might have been out 4 weeks, and that happened to one or two of the lads. And it just sucks because there's just no predicting it, But I know one of the lads that happened to is now doing really well right now. So he's, it hasn't held him back. So
good.
Fingers and toes crossed for everybody else.
Yeah, for sure. Rizu's asking, what do you think of your fellow Irish WWE stars, Becky Lynch and Sheamus?
Oh, they're brilliant. So I they were pretty much when I got signed, they were immediately in contact with me and stuff like that. I'd known Becky through friends of friends and stuff like that. So followed her career, and Sheamus, I followed Sheamus's career for a long, long time. So proud of what they've done in this industry. Sheamus has been really the standard bearer for Irish wrestling. He has been a world champion. He's done everything in this industry. He's such an inspiration for everybody back home because he's proof that if you get yourself in good enough shape, you work hard enough, you can make your own luck, and he definitely did that. He's not the tallest guy in the world. It's not like he was signed for being 6'10" or whatever else. He's a little above average height, and you're just so happy for what he was able to do with himself because he looked incredible, and you could put him next to anybody, and he had no tan whatsoever, and he looked incredible. So and Becky Lynch just refused to take no for an answer, and she looked around at what was in front of her, and she said, "No, I want more," and she made it happen. And she's been an incredible inspiration for all of us because she was somebody who was on the lower card, trudging away, doing her best, and the crowd knew that it was she was good. They knew that there was more there, and they worked together and they made it happen. And it's just so awesome to watch, and the way what she's done in this last 2 or 3 years ago was just outstanding, and I'm so happy for her with Seth with the baby and something. So and everything. Sorry. So I'm very happy for how things have worked out for her, and I'm looking forward to when she returns.
Very nice. The new gimmick, Nikki's new gimmick. What are your thoughts?
Listen, I adore it. So what a lot of people don't know, on the indies before this, Nikki was a very evil villain, shall we say? So it's brilliant to see her doing the antithesis of that with the hero gimmick. Listen, some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. Me personally, I love it. It's an opportunity for her to be a positive character, a positive force. In she is a bit of a dork. She is an excitable person full of determination, and so you're literally getting the closest we can get to Nicola that is possible, but we've also put the mask on and everything else. So no, I'm very, very excited for what's going to happen next for Nikki, because listen, the hardest part with all of this is you're always going to have people say, oh, we loved Sanity Nikki and whatever else, but Sanity Nikki had a shelf life. There's only so far she could go with it, and we appreciate that everybody loved it so much, but there was no legs to it. It only goes so long, because how long can a person be crazy? It's okay, you're crazy, woo, and then what next? So this is awesome, and listen, I hope this can get a couple of years, because I think it could really for people down the line, for little girls, little boys, it's a cool, colorful character to enjoy, because I know when I grew up watching wrestling, that's what drew me in. Was the colorful characters and the fun, the silliness. So fingers crossed for it.
Yeah, nice. How would you compare Blood and Guts to NXT War Games?
That's a good question. Actually, I mean that's trying to do the original War Games was amazing. Like when, so I'm growing up watching this, and you're kind of used to 1-on-1s, 2-on-2s. Very seldomly you might get a multi-man match. Mm-hmm. Suddenly you've got multiple rings, the cage around it. There's just so much going on. So for us, when we were doing the War Games match, like you're doing your best to try and replicate, but not to like take away from what was there before. And I know the AEW did a great job of that as well. Like they were able to go more in the blood and guts version of it as well. Yeah. Whereas we had to kind of rely a little bit more on the stunts and everything else. So I thought both did a very good job, because listen, it's almost impossible to replicate the stuff that we saw back then, because listen, like that stuff was so new and so fresh. Like I'm talking about, like, how long did you watch wrestling? And then boom, you see something like that, and you're just your mind's blown. And we're in an era now where they've seen everything, so they've seen absolutely everything possible. So how do you entertain them? How do you make them enjoy it? So me personally, I think so far everybody's done a great job.
Very nice. Alan's asking. Aleister Black recently said, or Tommy End recently said, that there's a big difference in how things are handled by Triple H and Vince McMahon. Since you have worked under both men, do you agree to that?
I would say so. Triple H is a little more hands-on on a regular basis. So like you'll have way more access to Triple H, for example, at NXT than you will have Vince, because Vince is you take away the fact that, like, he's going to be the head of the shows and whatever else. He's also the CEO of the company. So you're asking, there's a very small window that he's going to be available to be seen. And, that is problematic, I guess, for some people, because, they might not be able, they want to barge in and give him up for, and he might not be there. So I understand that might be difficult for people. At the same time, it's like, I can't imagine any other place in the world where you could actually go and have a conversation with the CEO of a company on a regular basis. So that's me coming at it from a different perspective. But like, for me, working under Triple H was great, because I found it really easy talking to him, easy to understand what he was looking for. Vince, I had much limited interactions with, but like, there's no problem with him. Treated me with respect. It's like, I think for the major difference, as I say, is he has so much on his plate, and don't get me wrong, Triple H has plenty on his plate, by the way, but he's able to have more time for the talent, and that's just because doesn't have as much as Vince would. So when I think about, like, when I did meet Vince and everything else, I thought he was pretty straight with me, and that's all I ask for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you experience the, Vince being in Gorilla all the time when you were there? So you would come back from the curtains and he would be in Gorilla?
Most of the time, yeah. But like, so they were also negotiating with the networks to renew and stuff like that. So there was times where maybe he might not be there or whatever else. But generally he was there most of the time I was there. And like, one of the funniest, I said this the other day, I had a one-on-one with him, and like, he's giving me what for, and then he literally grabs my hand and pulls me in, and he's telling me about my future and stuff like that. So it's just hilarious, because you don't, I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't expect a 75-year-old man or whatever it is to grab me. I was like, oh, it's still there, I guess. So
yeah. Does he interact, like when he's in Gorilla, from your experience, does he interact with the talent that when they come, or does he just kind of stay focused in the show when he's in Gorilla?
So I imagine when there's a commercial, he's right up there and he's interacting with everybody. Okay. But if we're fast moving around to something else, then he'll get you at the next commercial, or else he might even be like, thanks, I'll talk in a sec, whatever else. Listen, that man is one of the most switched on people. Like, I can't imagine I can't imagine having my finger in so many pies at this age, let alone his age. You know what I mean? Like, he's just doing so much all at one time. So, and obviously he's got a crew around him and everything else. So, it's just hilarious. I remember when I first met him was at WrestleMania, and there's just 100 people around him, and yet he's still like, dictating and doing whatever. So it's very impressive, to be honest.
Yeah, he's been doing it for 40 years. So hopefully he's taken over the company for that long, but he's been, he knows what he's doing. He's been doing it for a long time. So let's do one more for the team. Let's see. I'm trying to find lots of good questions here. I'm trying to find someone who I haven't used yet. I know you can't share much with this, but we'll end with this. What does the future hold for you? Do you have any context with AEW or New Japan? I know that you can't share too much about
I actually
that right
can't
now.
tell you. Honestly, like what the future does hold for me is I'm very excited to get out there and get going again. There is a chip on my shoulder. I wrote that in my Twitter, and I meant every second of it, because listen, this last year and a half with COVID and everything else, the one good thing that's going to come out of it is a lot of us, not just me, are probably healthier than we ever expected to be. And we've probably added years onto our career instead of taking away from it. So for me personally, I'm raring to go. My mind is always working. I'm always writing stuff down, and I'm very excited to get going again. Listen, there's so much coming up. Now, I said this the other day, but it rings true. The day after my 90 days ends doesn't mean I'm going to appear that day, but I can guarantee you in the months after, and the years after, there's going to be plenty happening. So I'm very excited for it.
When is the official date of the non-compete ending?
The 24th of September, 25th of September, something like that. I actually need to double check that. But no, so that'll be the end of September. But listen, I'm a foreigner living in the United States, so I've got a lot of legal loopholes I need to jump through before I can actively compete. So that'll be hopefully rectified as soon as possible. But that's why I just want to make sure that everybody knows that it won't be the day after. Yeah. Well,
we won't be paying your legal fees if you do something wrong.
There we go.
all the fans, quit criticizing Big Damo if he doesn't go, a week or 2 weeks. We're not going to pay his legal fees, so let him take his time. So let him take his time. Where can we find you on social media, my man?
So at Damo Mackle on everything you'll see on Instagram, Twitter. I'll be a lot more active. I went through a period there where I was quite inactive. Thanks for putting that up there. Thank you. But I'll be a lot more active, and I'll be back on Twitch, Cameo, Pro Wrestling Tees, everything very shortly. So at Damo Mackle.
Fantastic, man. It's been a pleasure, man. I appreciate you coming through tonight.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for the fun questions. I appreciate it.
Awesome. And please excuse my terrible butchering Belfast accent.
Hey, listen, next time we do it, I expect you to be just a little bit better. You know what I mean?
Just a little bit better.
That was close. That was England. That's close.
Okay. It's close. I went European at least. I'm in Europe.
You're in the right continent.
That's right. I'm in the right continent.
Can't beat it.
Thousands of miles away, but I'm still there somewhere.
Continent, fine.
Yeah, sounds good, my man. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.